So in this video, I'm just going to do a little demonstration just to kind of clean up and also explain, the last two videos, or just kind of complete like the last two videos. The last two videos, we kind of saw like the basics of using the terminal, customizing it, and then of course creating the bash profile. In this, I'm going to try to tie it all together with, showing you a little demo of what's possible. So one thing that people do a lot, and I tend to see this a lot in web development, is they're very manual about creating files and folders. So if I scroll over to like Sublime Text, I see people do this a lot. They'll go ahead and they'll open Sublime Text, and they'll probably right-click on their desktop and create a new folder, and then they'll call their folder, I'm going to just rename it here. I'll just call it sample website. And, of course, they'll open the file folder from Sublime. Oops, I just created another one. We'll just ignore that for now. If I open from Sublime and I go over to desktop and then I create sample or open sample website, you can see that I've got this file and folder open. And then what they'll do is they'll create a new file here and they'll save it and they'll call it index.html. And then, of course, they'll type some HTML in here, and it's very, laborious. HTML, head, body, HTML, and of course, like a paragraph tag, hello, world. And of course, we'll save that. Then, of course, we do need, some styling. So we'll go ahead and just say link rel equals style sheet, and href is equal to style.css. And then, of course, don't forget we need a script tag for JavaScript. So we'll just go ahead and say script src equals script.js. So then people will go and create a new file here, and they'll say, okay, here's my style.css. Let me go ahead and put color red just to test this. I'll go ahead and save this as my style.css, and then of course I'm going to create one more file, save this as script.js. So again, very manual. Here's an alert, hello world, and of course if I right click and I open this in a browser, we get this little web page that says hello world, and of course the alert also pops up. I'm using two screens, that's why I had to drag it over to the other side. However, like the whole process of making a web page is very manual and tedious. How much time did we use? Like it took a little bit of time to do this. Would you like it if there was a simpler way to do all this? Well, yes, there is. In the last video, I showed you how to create a simple command using an alias that allowed us to open up the Finder. So if I cd over to desktop, and then I said open, that opens up this desktop Finder. I didn't have to click over here on the left to get to Finder. So that's really nice. I'm going to cd back into my bash profile location. Remember, bash profile is always in this squiggly profile area. And I'm just going to say nano to edit the file and just say bash profile. And then this time I'm going to add a new command in here. I'm going to say alias, and I'm just going to say make web, like this, mkwb. And before I do that, I just want to jump into like one more command here. So I'm going to right click from terminal to shell, and then of course click new tab, and that'll give me a new tab here that's independent of the other tab. So a lot of developers like to work in multiple tabs. You can think of it as like browser windows and with different tabs. So here I'm going to do one more command. I'm going to go back over to desktop, and I'm going to say mkdir. This is a common command for making a directory. So I'm going to make a directory called sample website 2. And you'll notice that I created a new directory similar to sample website. However, there's nothing inside if I take a look at it. I'm going to also use the rm, and I have to use the -r command, which means recursively. so all files and folders within files and folders, to delete the untitled folder, because that's the one I don't care about. That was a mistake. So that'll remove that from my desktop. And I am going to create a index.html inside the sample website. So first I need to say sample website slash, and then also index.html. And actually, oops, don't type this command here. You say sample website 2 and slash, and then I need to type out index.html. There's no tab completion for that, because remember, the file doesn't exist in here. So after I press enter here, then if I open this up, there's my new index.html. And this one is different from this one, just so you know. So make directory makes a new directory here, and touch creates a new file and this will only be inside the sample website. If I made the index.html outside of that, then it would be here, and I can demonstrate that by just saying touch the index.html. Then it doesn't move to there, it actually moves outside the folder, which is not what we want. So we can use rm for index.html. Remember, it's not a folder, it's just a file. For folders, you would need the -r. But for index.html, one single file, you can just say rm index.html, and that gets rid of the file. So coming back here, I'm going to make a new command called mkwb, and I'm going to just, put some of the commands I wrote in our other tab here into here, and I can do that inside these quotes, which basically allow me to run one command after another as long as it's inside these quotes. So first off, I'll start off by saying make directory called website, and then I'll end that command with a semicolon, and then I'll start off with another command, touch website, and I'll say index.html, so that'll create an index.html. Then I'll also say touch website style.css, touch website, and then script.js, and I'll go ahead and end this command, this series of commands with this quote here. Control X to save, Y to save, and then of course hit enter. And then of course I want to source this file, and this time I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to use a shortcut, which is basically this exclamation mark followed by a asterisk. And when you do that, it basically takes the last file name and it replaces it with this. It actually doesn't replace the file name. It just points to that same file name here. And of course, source is the command I want to use, so that will source my bash profile, and that saves me some shortcuts. If you want to repeat the previous command, you can also just say exclamation mark like this, and then that will repeat the command. If you say exclamation mark followed by an asterisk, then it will say, of course, command not found, because this is not a command. This is the name of the file, but these are nice shortcuts to remember for using bash. Okay, so I've sourced the bash profile. That means my command is now in use, so I can go over to my desktop and I can use this command right now, mkwb. And there's my website with all my files and everything ready for me to use. So I don't have to be very manual anymore about opening this up. Of course, I still have to type out my index.html, but there are other commands you could use if you know command line pretty well to basically write out all of that stuff for you. So I'll leave it up to you for now to try to figure out how to do that. However, this concludes this tutorial and this demonstration. Thank you for watching.